McAllister. I've got Senator Bragg on my list. Yes, Senator Bragg.
The question is to the Minister representing the Housing Minister, Minister Gallagher. The government has delivered 4 budgets where it has announced the same housing policies which have built 0 new houses. Does the government understand the definition of insanity?
Thank you, Senator Bragg. Minister Gallagher. Yes, Senator Farrell.
I think, President, I'm the person responsible for.
Okay, well, just a moment, Senator Farrell. Senator Bragg has called Minister Gallagher, so unless the ministers want to, Senator Bragg, do you wish the no? Do you wish the question to be transferred to Minister Farrell? No. Okay. Thank you.
To address the question, and if he could repeat it to the Minister representing the Treasurer, which is not the Minister representing the Minister for Housing.
Thank you. So start again. Thank you, Senator Bragg.
My question is to the Minister representing the Treasurer, if you would prefer, who I believe is Minister Gallagher.
Thank you, Senator Bragg. And just ask the question again.
This is the PDF.
Order. We're not chatting across the table.
Well, he's asking me questions.
No,
I'm just trying to help.
Senator Bragg, ignore the interjections. I will manage the chamber. I've invited you to ask the question to the correct minister. Please put the question.
Okay. Thank you, President. I'm just trying to.
Senator Bragg, I don't need your help. Address the question to Minister Gallagher.
My apologies. My apologies. The government has now delivered 4 budgets in which it has announced the same housing policies which have built 0 new houses. Does the government understand the definition of insanity?
Thank you, Senator Bragg. Order. Order. Minister Gallagher.
Exactly. On day one after the budget, we have questions of that calibre. I'll tell you my view of the definition of insanity is a Commonwealth government that did, when they were in power, those opposite did nothing on housing for a decade. That's what I think. Not only insanity, but a complete abrogation of responsibility. Didn't have a housing minister for most of it, and didn't do anything about supportive housing, didn't do anything about affordable housing, didn't do anything to provide the housing stock that this country needs, did absolutely nothing. And then worse, once they're in opposition, once they've been booted out because they failed to deal with a whole range of policy areas, including housing, then systematically votes against everything we are trying to do to improve the housing supply in this country every single time, and not only voted to oppose it, voted to delay it. And then, once they delayed it, then criticised the fact that it's not building enough houses. This is a sort of incoherent and irresponsible approach from those opposite, and this is a real indication of how they would behave if they were elected into government. This is what we are seeing, the kind of student union questions from Senator Bragg, as opposed to the serious engagement on an issue like housing, which is a serious issue that most people care deeply about. And we have $33 billion on the table. We are building thousands of houses right now, under construction all around the country. No thanks to you. No thanks to you, because you've opposed every single step of the way. Where we have proposed sensible policies, you have sat back and opposed it, you've criticised it, you've delayed it, you've complained about it, and then when it hasn't built the houses, you then criticise that as well.
The time for answering has expired. Senator Bragg, first supplementary.
Mr. President. Last night the Treasurer's budget speech said, and I quote, 1.2 million new houses will be built before the decade is out. Wow. End quote. Every single private economist and even the Treasury know that this target is a dead duck. Why is the government constantly misleading the Australian people?
Thank you, Senator Bragg. Minister Gallagher.
Thank you. Well, I do not accept that for a moment. The $1.2 million target is an ambitious goal, but it's one that we are prepared to back up with policy solutions, with investments, with working with state and territory governments, with working with local governments to deliver the housing stock that this country needs. And you know what? It stands in stark opposition to any housing policy that you have, which is essentially one, as I understand it, which is to encourage young people to ransack their super in order to inflate housing prices across the country. And if you want to quote economists, have a look at what most of them say about that policy, that it's insanity. That's insanity, not only on the burden on the aged pension, but the fact that you single-handedly reduce young people's superannuation savings and inflate house prices at the same time. Only this coalition could dream up a policy solution like that after doing nothing for the 10 years that they were in power.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Bragg, second supplementary.
No one believes that. The Treasurer also said last night that the Housing Australia Future Fund is, and I quote again, helping build 18,000 houses. We all know that the HAF is virtually on a duck. When will this Labor government build its first house and start correcting its miserable housing record?
Thank you, Senator Bragg. Minister Gallagher.
Here we have it again. They come in here and they say they care about cost of living, and then they vote against tax cuts. They now come in here and criticise the HAF when they voted against it and voted to delay it, and now they say, how many houses have you built, after you spent a year and a half blocking the passage of that bill that set up the Housing Australia Future Fund. Round one are under negotiation now, which is actually, considering the time the Senate delayed the passage of this bill, and we never got it through with your support anyway. We had to completely bypass you because you continued to oppose it. You say you're going to abolish it. That's your policy, and now you're complaining that it hasn't built enough houses. Well, I'll tell you what: if you get into government, there will be thousands less houses than what the HAF is actually currently building right now, and you need to explain that.